U.S.A. Detroit, the city in the north of the USA, in the state of Michigan. It is located in a southeast corner of the state, on the River Detroit, on border with Canada. The population of the city -639,111 people. 2020. The Detroit agglomeration -4,292,060 people. 2013. It is based on July 24, 1701 by the French salesman Antoine Lhomme as a trading station for trade in furs with Indians. To the 19th century was a part of Canada, a part of the British Empire. Then it is transferred to USA. At the time of transfer represented just fenced ground. In the 20th century the city became the large auto-industrial center, purchased glory of, the automobile capital of the world, the city of motors. In the second half of century, because of crisis in the American auto industry and an oil crisis of 1973, Detroit fell into decay. Its many plants were closed, the population parted, having left the whole districts of the city thrown. Nevertheless, in the Detroit City District there are still boards of the automobile companies of the Big Three: General Motors, Ford and Chrysler in Detroit, Dearborn and Auburn Hills, respectively. History. The city received the name from the River Detroit, which means the passage of Lake Erie connecting Lake Huron to Lake Erie. In the 17th, 18th centuries, as the passage understood not only the present River Detroit, but also the Lake St. Clair and the river of the same name. Traveling up the River Detroit by the ship La Salle, the Catholic priest Louis Hennepin noted that the northern coast is ideal for the settlement. Here in 1701 Antoine Lhomme the law of the Île Cadillac, with group of 51 French Canadians based at Fort Detroit. By 1765 the white population of Detroit made 800 people, that put it in one row with the largest French settlements in America of the time, Montreal and St. Louis. However, in 1760 both Montreal and Detroit were handed over to British and became a part of the British colonial empire. Having become owners, British reduced the name of a fort to Detroit. In 1763 the fort was subjected to a siege by the risen Indians of the leader of Pontiac. Being forced to mitigate the policy in occupied territories, the British government the same year forbade the English colonists to found new settlements to the west from the Appalachians Mountains that, in turn, caused discontent of the numerous population of actually British colonies and became one of the reasons of the American Revolution. The 19th century. After the Revolution, Detroit remained a Canadian town for a long time and passed to the USA only in 1796. In 1805 the most part of Detroit burned down at the fire. From 1805 to 1847 Detroit was the capital of the territory, and then the new state of Michigan. At this time its population strongly increased. In 1812 he was again busy by British during Anglo-American War. 1812-1815. In a year is beaten off by Americans and received the status of the city in 1815. On the eve of Civil War, Detroit was one of key points of the Underground Railroad, by which runaway black slaves made their way from the USA to Canada. Sometime there lived future president here, and then still the Lieutenant Ulysses Grant, and during war many citizens by volunteers went to Army of Northerners. George Armstrong Custer created from them the well-known Michigan Crew. Many buildings and mansions of the city were built at the end of the beginning of the 20th centuries, when for Detroit there came Golden Age. At the time it was called Paris of the West, for magnificent architecture and the Boulevard of Washington, which is brightly lit with Edison's bulbs. The profitable arrangement on the waterway of a system of the Great Lakes made the city the large transport hub. The fundamentals of urban economy in the middle of the 19th century were made by shipbuilding. At the end of the same century, emergence of cars inspired Henry Ford on creation of own model and Ford Motor Company. 1904. Ford transplants brothers Dodge. Packard and Chrysler turned Detroit into the automobile capital of the world. The 20th century. In days of Prohibition, smugglers used the river for transportation of alcoholic drinks from Canada. In the 1930th years, with the advent of labor unions, Detroit became the arena of fight of labor union of workers of automotive industry against employers. In it in particular, such leaders as Jimmy Hoffa moved forward. In the 1940th years, through the city there passed one of the first American high-speed roads, M-8, and thanks to an economic boom of times of World War II, Detroit got the nickname Democracy Arsenal. Rapid economic growth of the first half of the 20th century was followed by an influx of the population from the southern states, mainly black, and Europe. Though discrimination at employment, and it was rather strong, weakened, problems all the same were, and it developed into a racial revolt of 1943, as a result of which 34 persons were killed, from them 25, the Afro-Americans. The period of the greatest blossoming of the automobile building and tank building industry fell on years of World War II and Cold War. In 1941, on the waste ground, the Detroit tank arsenal of Chrysler Corporation, which at the time of construction and before merge in the SR 5 ACPX at seats, St. T plants with chachts in uniform tankograd, was the largest tank building enterprise in the world was constructed. Right there a number of other large industrial enterprises, Ford, General Motors, and other giants of military-industrial complex of the USA opened. Development of civil automobile industry became a collateral conversion product. In the 1950th years, Detroit became one of the main centers of mechanical engineering in the USA, and during that time advanced the program of cheap and public cars at the state level. The city represented one big military-industrial conglomerate. In Detroit, the largest automobile plants of the country were concentrated, and the city endured a boom of the development. It in literal sense prospered, having become one of the richest cities of North America. From the middle of the 1920th years, with development of the auto industry in the city, a large number of privately owned vehicles appeared. Detroit became one of the first cities where the network of high-speed highways and traffic intersections began to be under construction. On the other hand, the system of public transport did not develop. On the contrary, automobile corporations lobbied liquidation of tram and trolleybus lines. At the same time, there was a campaign, acquisition of the privately owned vehicle was advertised, and public transport was represented not prestigious as transport for the poor. Similar replacing of inhabitants to personal vehicles promoted moving of the population from the center of Detroit to its suburbs. Beginning of decline. Outflow of the population to suburbs began in the 1950th years. It is more and more skilled workers, engineers, representatives of the middle class sold the housing in the city and went to the suburb. Real estate value began to fall promptly. As the most solvent population parted in the city, financial problems began. The quantity of jobs was reduced. Owners of shops, bankers, doctors began to move there where there was demand. In the city there were those who could not afford it, the unemployed living on a welfare or low-paid workers, generally black population. The outskirts of Detroit were also promptly filled with the Afro-Americans. Among the black, because of poverty and unemployment, crime, so Detroit quickly became notorious as one of the most black and dangerous cities of the USA. Thrived. At this time in the USA cancelled a racial segregation. As a result, the black began a ticket to face white, and it led to the interracial conflict. The culmination happened in 1967 when in July confrontation between the white population and the black poured out in some of the most cruel disorders in the history of the USA, proceeding within 5 days and known as roughness at 12th Street. Decrease in amount of government military orders, including foreign, which created the main amount of work of the Detroit industry, in connection with the end by 1973 of the local military conflicts in which the USA was involved, after signing of the Parisian Peace Agreement, led to crisis in automobile industry of the USA. It was aggravated with anti-war strikes and strikes of the American labor unions, failure of accomplishment of orders and multi-billion losses. In 1973 the oil crisis burst. It led to crisis. The big three of the American automakers, whose cars, gluttonous and expensive, could not compete with economic European and Japanese cars more. The plants one by one began to be closed, people lost work and left Detroit. Large corporations relocated the centers of industrial production to the Pacific Rim, to South Korea, China, Taiwan and Japan. The population of the city and its administrative borders was reduced by 2.5 times. About 1.8 million in the early 50s, up to 700,000 by 2012. It should be noted, however, that these figures include also the people who moved to working suburbs where housing is cheaper and the situation is safer. As a result of outflow of the population, the whole districts of the city were left by inhabitants. Skyscrapers, the plants, residential quarters cost thrown and collapsed from time and vandalism. In Detroit it is possible to see streets on which one side show windows of expensive shops brightly burn, and on another there are buildings with the broken glasses which of walls sprout trees. The 21st century. Despite the general decline of Detroit, the headquarters of General Motors is still located here. In suburbs of Detroit, Dearborn, there is a headquarters of Ford Motor Company, and to Auburn Hills, Chrysler. The downtown, though sparsely populated, but also rather safe, remains a meeting of the cultural and sports centers and also monuments of architecture of the left century, and continues to attract tourists. A number of the areas surrounding the center of Detroit represents the depressive ghettos inhabited mainly by the Afro-Americans. These outskirts are considered as the most dangerous parts of the city. Rise in crime reigns here. Gangs of robbers, groups of rappers trade and drug traffic prospers. In comparison with them, one-story suburbs of Detroit are rather safe. There lived the families of white workers which left the main city in the 1950th years. Besides, Detroit and its vicinities, one of the main centers of resettlement of the Arab immigrants. An office of Michigan State University in the Detroit suburb Dearborn, the Center for the Arab American of the U.S. Among fans of Oriental sweets, Dearborn is famous for the baklava. All last decades, the government of the state and the federal authorities do not stop trying to recover the city, in particular its central part. Creation and construction of several casinos, which all the same could not strengthen the economy of Detroit, became one of the last initiatives of the old years. In December 2012, the deficit of the city budget was $30 million. The general debt at the beginning of the same year passed for $12 billion. On July 18, 2013, the authorities of Detroit officially declared bankruptcy the cities because of inability to pay debts for the amount of $20 billion. On January 8, 2014, the new mayor Mike Dagan, elected in November 2013, promised to solve the main problems of Detroit for half a year and asked inhabitants not to move to other cities. Detroit wins first place as the most destroyed city of the U.S.A. In addition, by Massachusetts outcome of the white population, locals entered tradition which extended also to other cities, so-called Night of the Devil. These are accustomed to set fire and destroy the abandoned and unexploited buildings at night before the holiday Halloween. Transport. The location of the city on border with Canada does Detroit by a transport hub. From the city it is possible to cross border of the states by three methods: through the bridge, on a tunnel, or from the railway station. The international airport is in Romulus, the suburb of Detroit. City transport is the bus. The rail system, People Mover, located on a platform in the downtown, has length of 4.9 km. On May 12, 2017, the line of the tram from Movers People to the railway station along Woodward Avenue is open. The climate of the city is affected significantly by the Great Lakes, mitigating it. In general, the city has moderately continental climate in spite of the fact that it is on free to the south of the Crimea. Winters are short, soft and snow, summer long and warm, it is frequent roast. The scorching heat and severe frosts are infrequent, nevertheless the most high temperature which was registered, made plus 40.6 C. On July 24, 1936. And the lowest was 31.0 C. On December 22, 1872. Average temperature of January 3.6 C, July of plus 23.1 C. Sometimes there are frosts below 15 C in the winter, and in the summer the heat is above plus 35 C. On temperature condition, Detroit is close to climate of the central regions of Ukraine. Kryvyi Rih, Zaporizhia. And the north of a steppe zone of Russia. Volgograd, Astrakhan. However, rainfall at the same time in Detroit much more than in the steppe regions of Ukraine and Russia. Rainfall is distributed within a year rather evenly, but more than drops out in the spring-summer. In total in a year 787 of rainfall drop out. Sport. Detroit is one of several cities of the USA in which there are teams of four main sports leagues of North America. NANL, NBA, NFL, LBO. Detroit Lions of NFL American Soccer, Ford Field 1934. NFL 0. Super Bowl.
Detroit Pistons of NBA Basketball Little Caesars Arena 1941-2. N. 3. NBA.
Detroit Red Ewings Nonal Hockey Little Caesars Arena 1926-11. Detroit Tigers of Albion of Baseball Comerica Park of 1894-4.
From 1982 to 1988 on the temporary street circuit in Detroit, the Grand Prix of the USA of Formula One was held.
The city is a champion by the number of the submitted applications for holding the Summer Olympic Games. In total 7 attempts to acquire the right to receive the Olympic Games, in 1944, 1952, 1956, 1960, 1964, 1968, 1972 were made. However, all these attempts were unsuccessful. Preference was given to other cities. Detroit in art. In Detroit there is one of the leading art museums of the USA, the Detroit Institute of Arts. The Mexican artist Diego Rivera painted its walls with frescoes on the subject person and car. Literature. The main events of the novel, Wheels, of the writer Arthur Haley are developed in Detroit. The city is described as the center of automotive industry of the USA, the cut of life and life of various social groups living in Detroit in the middle of the 20th century is given.
In the novel by Jeffrey Eugenides, An Average Floor, the narration covers the period from blossoming of Detroit before decline.
The main character becomes the witness of disorders on 12th Street. Music. In 1959 in Detroit the Motown Records record company was founded. In the 1960th years was here the special direction of a rhythm and blues, so-called Matonsky sounding, is developed. On this label the most outstanding stars of Afro-American music of those of years, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross, Smokey Robinson, Lionel Richie and Michael Jackson started the career. In 1985 in the city the special direction of techno music arose.
Detroit Techno.
Detroit is the homeland for many famous representatives of various musical genres, among which there is a multi-instrumentalist Jack White, hip-hop the producer of J Dilla, the rapper of Exhibit, the Irish dancer Michael Flatley.
Since the early childhood the rapper Eminem, who devoted to the city clips Beautiful, Welcome to Detroit and Detroit vs. lives in Detroit.
Everybody enacted in the movie 8 Mile, which action is developed in Detroit. Also in Detroit shock rocker Alice Cooper was born, it devoted to the city of the Be My Lover and Detroit City song. In Detroit there takes place the annual Super Show, called by Wicked-Stock. In style a horrorcore. In Detroit there were many popular groups, among which there is Electric Six, The Stooges, Mick D, Walls of Jericho. The Kiss Group has a Detroit Rock City song devoted to their fan from Detroit who died in road accident. In Tom Jones's repertoire there is a Detroit City song. Also at the moment in Detroit the Cell Dweller Rock Project is located. In 2014 in Detroit emergence of a monument to the RoboCop, fair and incorruptible character of the famous film trilogy, into a premiere of the forthcoming remake was planned. They're going to establish a statue in the summer of 2020 on the square at Scientific Center of Michigan. The statue is almost ready and for the present is not established.
January 2020.
In Detroit there is an action of the cartoon serial Transformers. Animated, is also used a city name in the manga /anime/movie Detroit Metal City.
DMC.
Action of one of series of a cartoon serial of the Mouse Rockers from Mars also happens in Detroit.
Games.
Detroit is the main scene of action of the game Deus Ex Human Revolution and one of the built-in cards tasks of the classical game Sin City. DOS version, in which it is provided by the city with industrial pollution and crime. There take place 2 missions of the game Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.
In 2018 there was Detroit
Become Human. Actions of a game are developed in Detroit of 2038. Buildings and constructions. As of 2015 in Detroit there are 27 buildings 100 high and more meters. The first 3 places in this list are taken the Renaissance Center, 222 meters, by 1 Detroit Center, 189 meters, and Penobscot Building, 172 meters. Education. Detroit is the house for several higher educational institutions, including the State Wayne State University, the National Research University with medical and law schools near Midtown, and the Detroit University of Mercy located in the northwest of Detroit in the University District. The College of Creative Researches, a higher educational institution where is conducted teaching industrial, transport and interactive design, is also located near Midtown. In the city there are also branches of other higher educational institutions, such as University of Michigan, Michigan State University, the State Grand Valley State University, and Lawrencevsky Technology University. The largest higher education institutions of the city are State Wayne State University, Detroit University of Mercy, College of Creative Researches. Incomplete higher and vocational education. In Detroit, the College of Professional Education Public College of Wayne is located.
The Theological Seminary of Sacred Heart offers various academic programs both for ecclesiastics and for students laymen.
Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.